Across the country and around the world, across the street and around the corner, this is Over the Culture. This is Over the Culture podcast, where you get to hear my spin on things I like music, sports entertainment, movies, TV shows, and your mom. You also get to hear about things I don't like Steph Curry. And I'm your bastard of ceremonies, the one gig kid, Pat Stay Black, Alex Treblack, Reefer Sutherland, Luke Fly Talker, the most interesting blurred in podcasting, the troll of trolls, the prince of petty, Steve G. This is Over the Culture, and it's May 23rd, 2021. The NBA playoffs are here, and Steph Curry is not. He's watching it like the rest of us, and he's not participating. I like it. I love it. I know some people hate it. Oh, he's America's favorite point guard. He's my darling point guard. He's just the golden child. He can do no wrong. Steph Curry came to save the day. Yeah, and he's not in the playoffs. They're not going to win a championship. Not this year. No. Pucker up, Buttercup. Do better. But he didn't have Clay. Hey, you know who would have took that team to the fucking playoffs? You know who would have took that team to the fucking finals? The one you call a flop. The one they call a quit. They say he's not clutch. They say he just disappears in the fourth quarter. He passes too much in the fourth quarter. But that same guy hit the game-winning shot against those Golden State Warriors. I like it. I love it. Just a kid from Akron. But, you know, LeBron can't do any right. He can't do any right. He could save your family from a burning building, and motherfuckers would still be like, oh, you passed too much in the fourth quarter. But he's also in the playoffs, and they're playing the Phoenix Suns. The LeBron Anthony Lakers are playing the Phoenix Suns today. Game 1. Game damn 1, Vivian. Game damn 1. So, I'm sure Steph will possibly tweet about it or talk to his wife, Aisha, about the game on their couch. Good times. Great stuff. Yeah, getting some of this Mama's cooking. What about that? Kwame Brown, man, I'm so glad that he's spoken his piece. Kwame Brown has brought up some very valid points. I mean, the man played 12 seasons. A lot of people have been calling him a bust. He's become one of the first people you think of when you think about sports bust. The biggest bust in sports history. Kwame Brown's name is usually brought up, but 12 seasons. I mean, by comparison, is he really a bust? Darko Milicic, picked in 2003 over Carmelo, over Dwayne Wade, over Chris Bosh. He won a championship with the Pistons, but from the deep, deep bench. Just like Adam Morrison, he won 2 championships for the Lakers, with the Lakers, on the deep, deep bench. But when he played for Gonzaga, I thought he was going to be the next Larry Bird. He's not even the next Larry the Cable Guy. Kwame Brown played 12 seasons. He was a journeyman. He played for the Bobcats. He played for the Lakers. He played for the Wizards. Played for the Warriors. Played for the Pistons. Then there's Greg Oden, got injured his rookie year. I don't even think he played half the time Kwame did. Anthony Bennett, Cleveland Cavaliers drafted him 2013. He didn't even play a quarter of the time Kwame Brown did. Michael Olowokandi forever. Totally forgotten about. How about Jay Williams, who got injured in a motorcycle accident after his rookie season? He had a promising career, but hey, he couldn't even play. Just like Bobby Hurley, he got in a motorcycle accident early in his career. Highly touted athletes coming out of college, both played for Duke. Point guards for Duke. I mean, having mediocre numbers for 12 seasons is better than not being able to give you any numbers. You're completely out of the game. Motorcycle accidents, Johnny Flynn, Darius Miles, Purvis Ellison, Hasheem Thabit. And also, he was drafted in the 2001 NBA draft ahead of Paul Gasol, Tony Parker. Nobody knew who Tony Parker was at the time. He came from France. He was a little kid from France. And he was picked late in the draft, like late in the draft. So a lot of people missed out on Tony Parker. 2001 wasn't the greatest draft year. Gerald Wallace, I think he might have had one All-Star season. It's not like Sam Bowie, who was picked famously ahead of Michael Jordan, ahead of John Stockton, ahead of Charles Barkley. Even Kevin Willis, he was picked ahead of Kevin Willis. And Kevin Willis played for damn near 20 seasons. Come and get some of this mama's cooking. Y'all picking on that man's mama's son. Quit picking on that man's mama's son. I'm loving this though. He's coming for everybody. He's kind of like Candyman. You don't say his name, he'll find out and he'll get on you. He'll kick the jaws in your ass. But man, Kwame Brown's coming for everybody. He's coming for Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, Charlamagne the God, Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, you name it, your mom. Don't come for my mom, Kwame. But he wants all the smoke. Becky with the good hair. And I like Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. They're two of my favorite role players of all time. They produce for good teams. But this is great theater nonetheless. Over the week, we lost Paul Mooney. We lost him on Thursday. And he's one of the legends in the game. He's worked with the greatest. Richard Pryor, Red Fox, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle. I mean, he's one of the comedy kings. I was lucky enough to see him down at the Houston Improv. I want to say it was 2011, 2012. And throughout his set, I remember a white couple leaving, and that's kind of routine. That's kind of like the average, I guess, for one of his shows. There's some white people who might go to the show because they seen him on Chappelle's show, and they're just not fully prepared for what's to come in a Paul Mooney set. And sure enough, a white couple left during the show, and he commented on it, and I got to meet him afterwards, and he was selling this book. And if you buy his book, he'll sign it and take a picture with you. So I was like, oh man, I don't know the next opportunity I'll have of meeting Paul Mooney. This was great. So we got a shot, and right before the photographer snapped our picture, he caught someone about to take a pic for free, off to the side. So the picture that we got was me looking straight ahead and him looking to the side at the person who tried to get a free pick. But hey, if you look at the picture, it looks like he's perturbed. Like, who is this strange man touching me? But rest in peace, Paul Mooney, man. There will be no other, ever. Now, this past Friday, I got some new spins, some new music. Benny the Butcher coming, nigga. And 38 Spesh, they have a new album, Trust the Sopranos. It's 10 songs, 31 minutes, 19 seconds. And it has features from El Camino, Class Murder, Ransom, Al Pacino, Heem, Rick Hyde, among more. And man, you know, at this point, Griselda Gang is easily in my top 5 groups, hip-hop groups of all time. Conway the Machine, Westside Gun, and Benny the Butcher, man, they've just been consistent. And they have a catalog of tracks that just could compete with some of the best, man. But check that out. Trust the Sopranos with Benny the Butcher and 38 Spesh. Also on Friday, Young M.A. off the yak. Man, I fucks with Young M.A. Girl got bars. Bars, cuz. And man, you know, I actually added half of this album to my playlist. There's Hello Baby featuring Fivio Foreign. I like the track with Ruby Rose, Don Diva. The track with Max YB, Nasty, Big Steppa, Club Stories with Wopstar. You know, it's 11 songs, 32 minutes, 29 seconds, so it's not a long album. Neither is Trust the Sopranos, and both are great hip-hop albums. And also, I checked out 42 Dugg, Freedom Boys. Now, he might not be, you know, the flavor for my hip-hop purists, but man, if you like that turn-up shit, get you in that mode, like a Future, like a 21 Savage, like Amigos. Freedom Boys is full of bangers. It's 19 songs, 49 minutes and 5 seconds. Now, 42 Dugg, he's originally from Detroit, but, you know, he collaborates with a lot of guys down here in Atlanta. One of the tracks I like, For the Gang with Roddy Ricch, Maybach featuring Future, Alone featuring Lil Durk, Best Friends, Quez Free, and Rose Gold featuring ESTG. Man, yeah. So Freedom Boys, Trust the Sopranos, and Off the Yak. Man. But yeah, it's May 23rd, and we're going to be talking about things that happened on May 23rd. In 1984, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom premiered, and I actually like the first one, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. But this one, all 3 of them, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, all 3 are fucking bangers, man. So, yeah. 1994, Seal releases Seal, the self-titled album Seal. 1995, the Beastie Boys released Root Down. In 1997, The Lost World, Jurassic Park premiered in theaters, and I remember seeing that twice in the theaters. Man, Jeff Goldblum, that's a fly-ass motherfucker. In 1999, WWF wrestler Owen Hart is killed after falling 70 feet from the rafters at Kemper Arena in Kansas City during a live pay-per-view broadcast of Over the Edge. And I remember watching that at my buddy's house when it happened. And we didn't know what the fuck was going on. There was a delay. We knew that there was a match coming up with him and Jeff Jarrett. And, you know, they just kept cutting to promos and going backstage and doing interviews. And then later that night in that event, we find out that Owen Hart died, man. And we just, like, we didn't know what to make of it. That's like the first thing everybody talked about the next day of school, man. R.I.P. to the legend, man, the Blue Blazer, legendary Hart Foundation. In 2000, Perfect Circle releases Mayor to Gnomes, and I like Perfect Circle. I'm a fan of Maynard Keenan, the lead singer of Tool, But yeah, man, that was a great album. The Perfect Circle releasing that. It's very Tool-like as far as having that ambient sound, and I feel like it's groove and smoke music. In 2003, Bruce Almighty premiered, and Jim Carrey's, man, I don't think the world can get enough of it. In 2005, Audio Slave releases Out of Exile, R.I.P. Chris Cornell. And on that same day, Tom Cruise appeared on Oprah Winfrey, which he made several public announcements of his relationship with Katie Holmes, and this is most notably known for the couch incident, when he's jumping up and down on the couch and just being a miniature, diminutive tyrant. And I think if you were on the fence about Tom Cruise up to this point, this probably sold it. I think this was him letting the world know I am a monster douche. Monster douche. In 2014, X-Men Days of Future Past premiered in theaters. I remember seeing that in theater. And man, I was blown away. I felt like X-Men was back, and because the first one was good, and the two after that, I wasn't feeling. And then I think it was X-Men First Class or Class something. That was good, and then I think this was the one after that. But yeah, man, X-Men Days of Future Past premiered May 23rd, 2014. But later, I'm really going to be talking about an album that I consider one of the hip-hop classics, hip-hop staples. One of the greatest, not just hip-hop albums, one of the greatest albums ever put together, ever produced, ever made, ever written. In 2000, the same day Perfect Circle released their debut album, Eminem released Marshall Mathers LP, and this is very influential in my adolescence, man. I remember the summer of 2000, the tail end of our junior year going into the summer of our senior year. This album came out May 23rd, 2000, and I played this album all summer, all of that summer. I was feeling good about myself. I had my driver's license at this point. I have a job at Cedar Point. You know, I could get free passes. I was getting paid every week. I didn't have any bills. So I would be driving along the shores of Lake Erie that summer, listening to this album, Marshall Mathers LP, and, you know, Wu-Tang, when they dropped Wu-Tang Forever, that made me want to write. But when this album came out, the Marshall Mathers LP, when this came out, I wanted to know, how can I write like this? How in the world, how in the fucking is this possible? How did he do that? The album just blew our minds, man. And the album was nominated for Album of the Year, for Rap Album of the Year, man. It was selling like hotcakes, this album. Marshall Mathers LP, it had so many classics. Amityville, of course, there was the I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the Slim Shady. Like, that was everywhere. You couldn't avoid that. It's gotten to the point, I skip that song now. There's Stan, he performed that with Elton John. And then the track, I sit back with this bag and it's in, cause it's easy. I am whatever you like. Oh, just so many fucking bangers. Remember me? Oh, man. Get some of this Marshall's cooking. Today in sports history, in 1941, in his 20th World Heavyweight Boxing title defense, Joe Louis knocks out Buddy Baer in round 1 at New York's Madison Square Garden. In 2013, Patrick Waugh is named head coach of the Colorado Avalanche, his former team where he won 2 Stanley Cups. And in 2018, the good old NFL owners approved new NFL national anthem policy whereby players required to stand if they choose to be on the field for pregame presentations. You know what NFL stands for, right? Not for long, nigga. NFL, you get uglier and uglier to me as the years go by. And that was my half-ass sports report. Today's birthdays for May 23rd. Happy 30th birthday to American football player Aaron Donald. Turning 34 today is American wrestler Bray Wyatt. Happy 35th birthday to American film director and screenwriter Ryan Coogler. American singer, songwriter, guitarist, actress, and poet Jewel turns 47 today. Turning 48 today is American singer, songwriter, and producer Maxwell. Turning 63 today is American actor, game show host, comedian, and entrepreneur Drew Carey. Cleveland rocks. Go Ohio. Also turning 63 is American journalist, author, and screenwriter Mitch Albom. Turning 80 today is American basketball player, coach, and executive Rod Thorne. And turning 88 today is English actress Joan Collins. Coming up, I'm going to go over Eminem's album, the Marshall Mathers LP, released on this day in the year 2000. We'll be back after these messages.
This Sunday at George R. Brown, come watch used and abandoned cars get destroyed by big fucking trucks. Rows of cars getting destroyed by big trucks. You don't want to miss this one. Bring out the whole family so the kids can enjoy. And just when you thought it was over, for the grand finale, there'll be two big trucks ramming into each other. Featuring performances by Kid Rock, Ted Nugent, and that guy from Smash Mouth who looks like Guy Fieri. Tickets available on SimpleMindedEntertainment.com. Sponsored by Papa John's and beer.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. You know what that means, right? You pay nothing. It's free 99. It's a free app that you put on your phone, and it lets you go from there. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Check out Anchor.
Every now and then, 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 every now and then. Delayed the game of private folks saying stop it. Emerald flow, I glow was made into a rocket. Leonardo, Donatello, turtle shell, shock it. Remove the hinges from the bench, still selling sprocket. Call me Davy Crockett, grab the rail and wrestle bears. I ride tornadoes like lightning into the atmosphere. Tired of line wire, pair share, same chromosome, so I guess it's just a double pair. Paint the face of the devil, eliminate highs in the treble. Bass becomes the metal, construct the ground level. Paint the face of the devil, eliminate highs in the treble. Bass becomes the metal, construct the ground level. B-boy junkie, static, ship shape, no practice in me, and no additive. You can go subtracted, holographic, elastic, scholarly lactic acid, delivered in masses plastic. You can say I'm mad at it, maybe just an addict. It's all bullshit talking, I guess I rap it backwards, releasing this surprise. Bitch, I'm so attractive, might cause damage, kamikaze acid.
Flynn. A man that strategize, make moves like chessmen. Intend to win battles within. Transcend, seeing on my shins. Transforming yang again.
See, I'm a B-boy junkie.
I need a fix real quick. Separate the bushes while perfecting the mix. I got enough saliva to spit before my foot jump off the stage. And the crowd want more. No head rhyme, still I'm a track fiend. Not an ex-con, cause I succeed with schemes. They be on that talkathon, I'm waking at the crack of dawn. Catalyst of change on these streets that I walk upon. Trying to balance life, these dudes is looking overdrawn. Know those for they flows, wake me up and bother y'all. Long gone friends, putting rhymes in the wind. Green, now and then, end rhymes like Finn.
Every now and then,
Another flower starts to bloom and
every now and then,
make clear the way I make room because
every now and then,
we fill the stage up like balloons. I'm like Indiana Jones in this temple of doom.
every now and then,
Another flower starts to bloom and
every now and
make
then,
clear the way I make room because
every now and
we
then,
fill the stage up like balloons. I'm like Indiana Jones in this temple of doom. You're now in tune with the crew who is been in tune with the sun, stars, and moon. We are the elephant in the middle of the room. To you weasel brain hyenas, I'm gorilla monsoon. The movement is similar to monsoon. Strong wind, heavy precipitation at high noon. I know school's out, but I'm still learning in June. By the time autumn falls, I will file this cocoon. Been on my jail since I came out of the womb. I would formulate a sentence by the tender age of 2. History of rock and roll, blue suede shoes, purple haze. See you on the other side, I'm breaking through. Never claimed a gang, never tried to be a goon, but I know how to make a red bone turn maroon. A lot of these rappers out here looking like buffoons. They remind me of a caricature from a cartoon.
every now and then,
Another flower starts to bloom and
every now and
make
then,
clear the way I make room because
every now and
we
then,
fill the stage up like balloons. I'm like Indiana Jones in this temple of doom.
every now and then,
Another flower starts to bloom and
every now and
make
then,
clear the way I make room because
every now and
we
then,
fill the stage up like balloons. I'm like Indiana Jones in this temple of doom.
And a special mention to those no longer with us. This past Thursday, we lost American comedian, writer, social critic, and actor Paul Mooney. Born Paul Gladney on August 4th, 1941 in Shreveport, Louisiana, he's best known as a writer for comedian Richard Pryor and for his collaborations with Red Fox, Eddie Murphy, and Dave Chappelle. Mooney is known for his acting role playing singer Sam Cooke in the Buddy Holly Story, Junebug in Spike Lee's satirical film Bamboozled, and as Negro Damas on Chappelle's Show. He's also known for his writing for Sanford & Son in Living Color and Chappelle's Show. On May 19, 2021, Mooney died of a heart attack at his home in Oakland, California, at the age of 79. Rajul Butler was an American professional basketball player. Born May 23, 1979 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, he played in the National Basketball Association for 14 years for the Miami Heat, New Orleans Hornets, Los Angeles Clippers, Chicago Bulls, Toronto Raptors, Indiana Pacers, Washington Wizards, and San Antonio Spurs. He was born in Philadelphia and raised in the Point Breeze area of South Philadelphia. After playing college basketball at LaSalle, he was drafted in the second round of the 2002 NBA draft by the Heat. On January 31, 2018, Butler and his girlfriend, singer Leah LaBelle, were killed instantly in a high-speed car accident in the Studio City neighborhood of Los Angeles, California, after he lost control of his Range Rover on Ventura Boulevard and crashed violently into a strip mall parking lot. Their bodies were cremated, and Rajul's cremated remains were given to his adult daughter, Raven. Autopsy reports showed traces of methamphetamine, oxycodone, and marijuana in Butler's body and a blood alcohol content of 0.118. He was 38 at the time of his death. Marvelous Marvin Hagler was an American professional boxer and film actor. Born Marvin Nathaniel Hagler in Newark, New Jersey on May 23, 1954, he began competing in boxing from 1973 to 1987. He reigned as undisputed champion of the middleweight division from 1980 to 1987, defeating 11 opponents, all but one by knockout, and making 12 successful defenses of that title. Hagler also holds the highest knockout percentage of all undisputed middleweight champions at 78%. His undisputed middleweight championship reign of 6 years and 7 months is the second longest of the last century, behind only Tony Zale, whose reign included several years of inactivity during his service in World War II. Nicknamed Marvelous and annoyed that network announcers often did not refer to him as such, Hagler legally changed his name to Marvelous Marvin Hagler in 1982. Hagler is an inductee of the International Boxing Hall of Fame and the World Boxing Hall of Fame. He was twice named Fighter of the Year by the Ring magazine and Boxing Writers Association of America, as well as Fighter of the Decade in the 1980s by Boxing Illustrated magazine. In 2001 and 2004, the Ring named him the 4th greatest middleweight of all time, and in 2002, named him the 17th greatest fighter of the past 69 years. The International Boxing Research Organization rates Hagler as the 6th greatest middleweight of all time, while BoxRec rates him the 29th greatest boxer of all time, pound for pound. Many analysts and boxing writers consider Hagler to have one of the most durable chins in boxing history, having been knocked down only once during his entire professional career. The lone knockdown scored by Juan Roldan of Argentina is still being disputed. On March 13, 2021, Hagler's wife, Kay, announced that Hagler had died at his home in New Hampshire. His son, James, said his father was taken to a New Hampshire hospital after experiencing chest pains and difficulty breathing. Thomas Hearns deleted an Instagram post alleging that the COVID vaccine Hagler had received was the cause. Hagler's widow denied that the vaccine had anything to do with her husband's death. He was 66. Rest easy, y'all. On this day in 2000, the Marshall Mathers LP was released. The Marshall Mathers LP is the 3rd studio album by American rapper Eminem, released by Aftermath Entertainment and Interscope Records. The album was produced mostly by Dr. Dre and Eminem, along with the 45 King, the Bass Brothers, and Mailman. Recorded over a 2-month period in several studios around Detroit, the album features more introspective lyricism, including Eminem's thoughts on his rise from rags to riches, the criticism of his music, and his estrangement from his family and wife. A transgressive work, it incorporates horrorcore and hardcore hip-hop, while also featuring satirical songs. Featured appearances include Dido, RBX, Sticky Fingers, Bizarre, Snoop Dogg, Exhibit, Nate Dogg, and D12. Like its predecessor, the Marshall Mathers LP was surrounded by significant controversy upon its release, while also propelling Eminem to the forefront of American pop culture. Criticism centered on lyrics that were considered violent, homophobic, misogynistic, as well as the reference to the Columbine High School massacre. Lynn Chaney criticized the lyrics at a United States Senate hearing, while the Canadian government considered refusing Eminem's entry into the country. Despite the controversy of the album, it received acclaim from critics who praised Eminem's lyrical ability and considered the album to have emotional depth. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, staying atop for 8 weeks straight. A significant commercial success compared to the release of the Slim Shady LP just the previous year, the album sold 1.78 million copies in its first week, which made it among the fastest-selling studio albums in the United States. The album produced the singles The Real Slim Shady, The Way I Am, Stan, I'm Back, and Bitch Please 2. Among other publications, Rolling Stone named it the best album of 2000. The Marshall Mathers LP has been included in several lists of the greatest albums of all time and is widely regarded as Eminem's best album. It has sold 21 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time and certified diamond by the Recording Industry Association of America. It was nominated for Album of the Year and won Best Rap Album at the 2001 Grammy Awards, while The Real Slim Shady won Best Rap Solo Performance. The Marshall Mathers LP 2, the album sequel, was released in 2013. Inspired by the disappointment of his debut album Infinite in 1996, Eminem created the alter ego Slim Shady, whom he introduced on the Slim Shady EP in 1997. After placing second in the annual Rap Olympics, Eminem was noticed by the staff at Interscope Records and eventually CEO Jimmy Iovine, who played the Slim Shady EP for hip-hop producer Dr. Dre. Eminem and Dr. Dre then met and recorded the Slim Shady LP in 1999, which was noted for its over-the-top lyrical depictions of drugs and violence. The Slim Shady LP was a critical and commercial success, debuting at number 2 on the Billboard 200 chart and selling 283,000 copies in its first week. At the 42nd Grammy Awards in 2000, the record won Best Rap Album, while the album's lead single, My Name Is, won Best Rap Solo Performance. The Slim Shady LP turned Eminem from an underground rapper into a high-profile celebrity. The rapper, who had previously struggled to provide for his daughter Haley, noted a drastic change in his lifestyle. In June 1999, he married his girlfriend, Kimberly Ann Scott, the mother of Haley, despite the fact that the song 97 Bonnie and Clyde from the Slim Shady LP contains references to killing her. The rapper became uncomfortable with the level of fame he had achieved and said, "I don't trust nobody now because everybody I meet is meeting me as Eminem. I don't know if they are hanging with me because they like me or because I'm a celebrity or because they think they can get something from me." Eminem also became a highly controversial figure due to his lyrical content. He was labeled as misogynist, a nihilist, and an advocate of domestic violence. In an editorial, Billboard editor-in-chief Timothy White accused Eminem of making money by exploiting the world's misery. Eminem considered naming the album Amsterdam after a trip to the city shortly after the release of the Slim Shady LP, in which he and his friends engaged in heavy drug use. The free use of drugs Eminem observed during his time in Amsterdam greatly influenced his desire to openly discuss drug use in his music and inspired some of the content on the album. The Marshall Mathers LP was recorded in a 2-month-long creative binge, which often involved 20-hour-long studio sessions. Eminem hoped to keep publicity down during the recording in order to stay focused on working and figuring out how to map each song. He described himself as a studio rat who benefited creatively from the isolated environment of the studio. Much of the album was written spontaneously in the studio. Dr. Dre noted, "We don't wake up at 2 in the morning, call each other and say, 'I have an idea. We gotta get to the studio. We just wait and see what happens when we get there.'" Eminem observed that much of his favorite material on the album evolved from fucking around in the studio. Marshall Mathers developed from the rapper, watching Jeff Bass casually strumming a guitar, while Criminal was based on piano riff Eminem overheard Bass playing in studio next door. Kill You was written when Eminem heard the track playing in the background while talking to Dr. Dre on the phone and developed an interest in using it for a song. He then wrote lyrics at home and met up with Dr. Dre, and the two recorded the song together. Kim was the first song the rapper recorded for the album, shortly after finishing work on the Slim Shady LP in late 1998. Eminem wrote Kim at a time in which he and his wife were separated, and he had just watched a romantic movie alone at a theater. Originally intending to write a love song for her while using ecstasy, the rapper hoped to avoid overt sentiments, and thus began writing a song of hate. With the track, the rapper aimed to create a short horror story in the form of a song. Once the couple reconciled, Eminem recalls, "I asked her to tell me what she thought of it. I remember my dumbass saying, 'I know this is a fucked up song, but it shows how much I care about you. To even think about you this much, to even put you on a song like this.'" The song Stan was produced by the 45 King. Eminem's manager, Paul Rosenberg, sent Eminem a tape of the producer's beats, and the second track featured a sample of English singer-songwriter Dido's Thank You. Upon hearing the song's lyrics, Eminem felt they described an obsessed fan, which became the inspiration for the song. The writing process for Stan differed greatly from Eminem's usual strategy, in which song concepts formed during the writing. Stan was one of the few songs that I actually sat down and had everything mapped out for. I knew what it was going to be about. Dido later heard Stan and enjoyed it, and observed, "I got this letter out of the blue one day. It said, 'We like your album. We've used this track. Hope you don't mind, and I hope you like it.' When they sent Stan to me and I played it in my hotel room, I was like, wow, this track's amazing." The record label speculated that Eminem would be the first artist to sell 1 million copies in an album's first week of release. These expectations placed a large burden on Eminem, who recalled, "I was scared to death. I wanted to be successful, but before anything, I want respect." After the album was finished, the record label felt there were no songs that had potential to be a lead single. Feeling pressured, Eminem returned to the studio and wrote The Way I Am as his way of saying, "Look, this is the best I can do. I can't give you another My Name Is. I can't just sit in there and make that magic happen." However, after the song was added to the album, Eminem felt the urge to write another song and gave a hook to Dr. Dre for him to create a beat and went home to write new lyrics. The song eventually became The Real Slim Shady. The song also discusses Eminem killing Dr. Dre. The producer stated, "It was funny to me. As long as it's hot, let's roll with it. In my opinion, the crazier it is, the better. Let's have fun with it and excite people." Most songs cover Eminem's childhood struggles and family issues involving his mother in Kill You, the relationship struggles with his wife in Kim, his struggles with his superstardom and expectations in Stan, I'm Back, and Marshall Mathers, his return and effect on the music industry, Remember Me, and in Bitch Please 2, his drug use like in Drug Ballad and The Kids, his effect on the American youth and society in The Way I Am and Who Knew, the reactionary barbs to critical response of his vulgarity and dark themes like in Criminal. Despite the large amount of controversy regarding the lyrics on the album were overwhelmingly well received among critics and the hip-hop community, many praising Eminem's verbal energy and dense rhyme patterns. The record also contains lyrics that have been considered to be homophobic. The song Criminal features the line, "My words are like a dagger with a jagged edge that'll stab you in the head, whether you're a fag or les. Hate fags? The answer's yes." The Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation condemned his lyrics and criticized the album for encouraging violence against gay men and lesbians. However, writing for the LGBT interest magazine The Advocate, editor Dave White writes, "If he has gay bashed you or me, then it logically follows that he has also raped his own mother, killed his wife, and murdered his producer, Dr. Dre. If he's to be taken literally, then so is Britney Spears' invitation to hit me baby one more time." Eminem noted that he began using the word faggot more frequently when people got all up in arms about it, to piss them off worse, but added, "I think it's hard for some people to understand that for me, the word faggot has nothing to do with sexual preference. I meant something more like assholes or dickheads." Evangelical Christian religious figure James Dobson also heavily criticized Eminem. In the first track, Kill You, discusses the controversy that surrounded the rapper's first album, nightmares of lady screams and being raised by a single mother. In the song, Eminem also talks of raping his mother and notes the irony of magazines trumpeting his mother-raping self on their covers. The 6.5-minute long stand samples Dido's Thank You and tells the story of an exchange between the rapper and an obsessive fan, where the titular character berates Eminem for not responding to his letters, which later turns to the fan committing suicide with his pregnant wife. On Who Knew, the rapper addresses criticism regarding glorification of violence in his lyrics, pointing out perceived hypocrisy in American society. According to Gabriel Alvarez of Complex, Eminem's response oscillates from smartass, "Oh, you want me to watch my mouth? How? Take my fucking eyeballs out and turn them around?" to smart. "Ain't they got the same moms and dads who got mad when I asked if they like violence and told me that my tape taught them to swear? What about the makeup you allow your 12-year-old daughter to wear?" Who Knew is followed by the Steve Berman skit, where the president of sales at Interscope Records angrily confronts the rapper about his lyrical content. He notes that Dr. Dre was successful because he rapped about big screen TVs, blunts, 40s, and bitches, while Eminem raps about homosexuals and Vicodin, and believes that the album will be a commercial disaster. The Way I Am is a meditation on the pressure to maintain his fame and his fear of being pigeonholed into some poppy sensation to copy rotation at rock and roll stations. He also laments the negative media attention received by controversial public figures such as himself and Marilyn Manson in the wake of shootings, including the Columbine High School massacre and the West Side Middle School shooting in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The rapper criticizes the media for focusing on tragedies, such as school shootings, while ignoring inner-city violence that occurs on a daily basis. The real Slim Shady pokes fun at pop culture icons, such as Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and Will Smith. Remember Me follows and features rappers RBX and Sticky Fingers, who kick seriously Stygian darkness in the ominous track. In the song, he states, "I'm trying to clean up my fucking image, so I promised the fucking critics I wouldn't say fucking for 6 minutes. 6 minutes, Slim Shady, you're on." Despite saying the word fuck one more time in Remember Me and 3 times at the beginning of I'm Back, he does not say the word fucking for 7 minutes and 29 seconds after delivering the original promise, saying it again in the song Marshall Mathers. The Marshall Mathers LP was released with 2 different album covers. The original features Eminem sitting on the porch of the house he lived in during his teenage years. He reflected on the photo shoot by saying, "I had mixed feelings because I had a lot of good and bad memories in that house. But to go back to where I grew up and finally say I've made it is the greatest feeling in the world to me." The other cover features the rapper seated in a fetal position beneath a loading dock with alcohol and prescription pill bottles at his feet. Will Hermes of Entertainment Weekly likened Eminem's appearance on the cover to a dysfunctional little rascal, viewing the image as indicative of the rapper's music evolution. Easy to read, right? The debut, a violent fantasy, the acting out of a persona, the follow-up, the vulnerable artist unmasked. The LP sold 1.7 million copies in its first week, which made it one of the fastest-selling studio albums in the United States. The album sold twice as much as the previous hip-hop record holder for first-week sales in the U.S., which was Snoop Dogg's 1993 album Doggy Style. The Marshall Mathers LP sold over 800,000 copies in its second week, 600,000 copies in its third week, and 520,000 copies in its fourth week, for a four-week total of 3.65 million. It also became one of the few albums to sell over 500,000 copies for 4 consecutive weeks. In total, the album spent 8 weeks at number 1 on the US Billboard 200, ranking it 4th in the current all-time list of weeks spent at number 1 by a hip-hop album. By the end of 2000, the Marshall Mathers LP had become the second best-selling album of the year, with over 8 million copies sold. The Marshall Mathers LP was also the best-selling album of 2000 in Canada, selling 679,000 copies. The album's first single, The Real Slim Shady, became Eminem's biggest hit up to that point. It peaked at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and topped the UK singles charts. The Way I Am, which was released as the album's second single, peaked at number 8 on the UK singles chart and 58 on the Billboard Hot 100 music chart. Stan, the third single released from the album, became a number 1 hit in both the United Kingdom and Australia. The song, which details around a crazed fan of the same name, has been highlighted as a work of poetry by critics and soon gave rise to the Oxford English Dictionary term Stan. Rolling Stone magazine's Touré applauded Dr. Dre's production and Eminem's varied lyrical style on what is a car crash record: loud, wild, dangerous, out of control, grotesque, and unsettling, but ultimately captivating. Melody Maker said that Eminem's startlingly intense vision of rap self-consciousness is truly unique, while Steve Sutherland of Enemy praised the album as a misanthropic and grueling assault course of lyrical genius that critiques malevolent aspects of contemporary society. Chuck Eddy from the Village Voice said that Eminem is backed by attractive music and displays an emotionally complex and witty quality unlike his previous work. In the newspaper's Consumer Guide column, Robert Christgau called him exceptionally witty and musical, discernibly thoughtful and good-hearted, indubitably dangerous and full of shit, while declaring the album a work of art whose immense entertainment value in no way compromises its intimations of a pathology that's both personal and political. Entertainment Weekly wrote that as the first significant popular music album of the 2000s, the Marshall Mathers LP is indefensible and critic-proof, hypocritical and heartbreaking, unlistenable and undeniable. Since its initial release, the Marshall Mathers LP has been highly acclaimed in retrospective critic reviews. It has been regarded by critics as Eminem's best album and has been ranked in multiple lists of the greatest albums of all time. According to Acclaimed Music, it is the 180th most acclaimed album in history. The Rolling Stone album guide, Christian Horde, said it delved much deeper into personal pain than the Slim Shady LP, and the result was a minor masterpiece that merged iller than ill flows with a brilliant sense of macabre. According to Sputnik Music's Nick Butler, the Marshall Mathers LP stands as a culturally significant record in American popular music, but also remains a truly special album, unique in rap's canon, owing its spirit to rock and its heritage to rap in a way I've rarely heard. The Complex wrote, at a time when Billboard charts were dominated by squeaky clean pop acts like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, Eminem offered a rebuttal to the hypocritical American mainstream that criticizes rap music while celebrating, and worse, commercializing sex, violence, and bigotry in other arenas. This album turned Eminem into a global icon. There was a huge amount of hype and controversy around it, but none of that takes away from its musical achievement. This album definitively proved that the Detroit rapper was a gifted lyricist, a brilliant songwriter, and a visionary artist. Mike Elizondo, a former collaborator on Eminem's album, said, "I felt like Marshall was part of this wave with Quentin Tarantino and Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. This next level of art with incredible graphic imagery that Marshall had the ability to paint. Love it or hate it, he was obviously very skilled at the stories he was telling." Jeff Weiss of The Ringer wrote, the Marshall Mathers LP certified Eminem as an alienated voice of a generation, a caustic wedge issue distilling the spirits of Elvis, Holden Caulfield, Johnny Rotten, Kurt Cobain, Cartman from South Park, and Tupac if he shopped at Kroger. In a postmodern abyss, there's everything performative. It might have been the last album that possessed the capacity to genuinely shock. The Vice highlighted that Eminem was the one artist high school kids seem to be unanimously connected with. He represented everything high school years are about: blind rage, misguided rebellion, adolescent frustration. He was like a human middle finger, an X-rated Dennis the Menace for a dial-up modem generation. Max Bell of Spin wrote that the album remains one of the most critically acclaimed, commercially successful, and influential albums in rap history, citing rappers influenced by the album, such as Tyler the Creator, Earl Sweatshirt, Kendrick Lamar, and Juice WRLD. Bonsu Thompson of Medium described the album as a masterful confluence of punk, bluegrass, and subterranean hip-hop that gave life to a singular brand of Americana rap. Thompson further praised the album's impact on white rappers, saying, "For a snapshot of the album's seismic influence, compare the pre-Marshall Mathers LP decade of white rappers like Everlast and MC Serch with the post-2000 landscape of Action Bronson, G-Eazy, and the late Mac Miller. Eminem homogenized the white rapper." Happy 21st anniversary, Marshall Mathers LP. Thank you, Marshall Mathers, aka Eminem. So that wraps up another edition of Over the Culture Podcast. Thank you for listening. Please make sure to check out my other show, Happened in the 90s with my buddy Matt G every Thursday, as well as our sister show, Crushgasm with Kendra every Wednesday. And y'all leave Kwame Brown alone, or else you gonna get some of Mama's cooking. Y'all be cool now. Peace.